My beloved child, listen closely, because what I'm about to reveal will shake you far more than the title ever could. Last night, while you were lost in your own thoughts, someone you hold close, someone whose name still echoes in the quiet corners of your heart, sat across a dimly lit table, nervously tapping their fingers, waiting for someone to arrive. The restaurant was glowing with warm golden lights, the kind that turn every breath into a confession. And yet, the moment their date walked in, their entire expression changed in a way no one could hide. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't curiosity. It was pure, undeniable shock, because the person who sat down in front of them was someone they never expected, someone who carried a truth so heavy that the whole night froze before it even began. And your special person? Their heartbeat stuttered, as if fate had turned its face toward them and whispered something they weren't ready to hear. But let me take you deeper, because the real revelation didn't start when the two of them exchanged greetings. It began in the seconds before that, when your special person caught a glimpse of the stranger's face and realized this wasn't a romantic date, this was an unexpected encounter that destiny forced into their path. They weren't dressed for romance, they were dressed for answers. Answers to questions they've buried for months. Questions about you, about the connection that keeps pulling them back no matter how far they try to run. And the moment the stranger placed a folded piece of paper on the table, your special person's hands trembled. That paper held something they feared, something they hoped to avoid, something about you. Every bite of food placed before them remained untouched as the air between them thickened with a truth that demanded to be heard. The stranger leaned forward, lowering their voice, and revealed a name, your name, turning the peaceful dinner into a storm your special person never saw coming. And that's where the night completely shifted. Because the person sitting across from them wasn't a lover, wasn't a secret crush, wasn't someone trying to take your place. No. Their date was someone who knew things about your special person's feelings, feelings they've been trying so hard to bury. Someone who confronted them with the very truth they've been denying. They were told that no matter who they try to meet, no matter whom they sit across from, no matter how many dinners they attend, their heart has already chosen its direction, and that direction is you. The stranger exposed the truth your special person tried to hide, even from themselves. And as their eyes softened, as their breath grew unsteady, they realized something they can no longer avoid. Every step they take away from you somehow leads them right back to you. Last night wasn't a date, it was a revelation wrapped in shock. A moment designed to show them what their soul already knew, even when their mind refused to accept it. And now, everything has changed. My beloved soul, before I reveal what happened next, I want you to take one breath and steady yourself, because the truth that unfolded after that shocking moment wasn't just a twist. It was the kind of revelation that forces a person to face everything they've been running from. As your special person sat there, gripping the edge of the table, the stranger leaned closer and whispered something that made their entire world tilt. They said that your name had been spoken more times than your special person admitted, not just in conversations, but in confessions. And as the truth hit them like a tidal wave, their eyes darted around the room, as if trying to escape the reality sitting right in front of them. In that moment, you weren't just a memory, or a passing thought, you were the unfinished chapter their heart refused to close. And while the restaurant buzzed with quiet laughter and clinking glasses, your special person's silence was louder than everything around them, because deep inside, they knew the truth was finally catching up. But here's where the universe twisted the story even further. The stranger didn't come to create confusion, they came to deliver a message that your special person needed to face. They said that no matter how many times your special person tries to move on, no matter how many faces they sit across, no matter how many chances they give themselves to forget you, their soul refuses to replace you. And the more they tried to escape, the tighter the universe pulled them back to your name, your presence, your energy. The stranger revealed things your special person never expected anyone to know, the way they check their phone only to stop themselves from typing your name, the way they compare every person they meet to the feeling they once had with you, the way your absence feels louder than your presence ever did. And as these truths poured out, something changed in their eyes. They weren't just shocked, they were exposed. Because someone had finally seen through the mask they had been wearing, and they could no longer pretend. And before you continue listening, before you go deeper into what unfolded next, let me tell you this: if even a part of you feels this pull, this connection, this invisible thread between you and them, then share this message with the part of your heart that still wonders why. If you feel something shifting inside you as you listen, if your intuition is speaking, trust it. And if you want this connection to unfold fully, stay here, listen closely, and hold on, because the next part reveals the moment that changed everything for your special person, the moment they realized exactly why destiny pulled them into that unexpected dinner, and why your name refused to leave the table. My beloved heart. What happened after that moment was something your special person never imagined themselves experiencing. As they sat frozen, staring at the stranger who had just unfolded truths they tried to bury, a strange stillness settled over them. The restaurant's soft music faded into the background, the conversations around them blurred, and for the first time in a long time, they allowed themselves to feel everything they'd been avoiding. Their chest felt tight. Not with fear, but with the realization that the universe had cornered them into confronting what they'd been denying for months. And the stranger wasn't finished. They slid a small envelope across the table, the kind that carries a message too real to ignore. Your special person hesitated before touching it, but the moment their fingertips brushed against it, a wave of emotion hit them so powerfully that they had to steady their breathing. Inside that envelope was something that connected back to you, something so specific, so undeniable, that even if they tried, they could no longer pretend you were just a chapter. You were the story itself. But what truly shook them wasn't the envelope, it was what the stranger said next. They told your special person that the reason this unexpected dinner happened wasn't coincidence. It was alignment. It was timing. It was the universe refusing to let them drift any further from the truth of their own heart. The stranger revealed that someone had been watching your special person slowly collapse under the weight of emotions they refused to acknowledge. Someone had noticed the late-night overthinking, the way your name lingered in their mind like a memory they couldn't erase, the way they froze whenever something reminded them of you. And that's why the dinner happened. Not to introduce them to someone new, but to remind them that no one could ever take your place. The stranger's words didn't just shock them, they broke through the walls they'd built around their own feelings. And as they sat there, blinking back the emotions they'd held inside for too long, they realized that running from what their heart had already chosen was no longer an option. And then came the moment that changed everything. Your special person leaned back in their chair, exhaling deeply, and whispered something they hadn't spoken aloud in months. They admitted that no matter how far they went, no matter how loud they tried to silence their thoughts, your name kept returning like a heartbeat, steady, unshakable, constant. The stranger nodded, almost knowingly, and said something that struck the deepest part of them: "You're not trying to forget them. You're waiting for a reason to go back." Those words hit harder than anything said that night. Because deep down, your special person knew it was true. Every step they took away from you felt like walking against the current. Every distraction, every conversation, every attempt to move forward only pulled them right back to the same realization: they weren't done with you. Not even close. And as the night continued, their shock slowly transformed into clarity, and clarity turned into a decision they never expected to make. My beloved light, the moment your special person finally breathed out the truth they had been suffocating under, the entire energy of that dinner shifted. The stranger studied them with an expression that wasn't judging, wasn't pushing, but quietly understanding, almost as if they had been waiting for this exact confession. And then, with a calmness that pierced straight through your special person's defenses, the stranger said something that froze them mid-breath. "You can keep pretending, but your heart already made its choice long ago." Those words felt like a mirror being held directly to their soul. Your special person looked down at their trembling hands, realizing that this wasn't just a casual outing, this was the universe staging an intervention. The stranger leaned back and told them that the feelings they carried weren't weakness, they were evidence of a connection too strong to be dismissed. They told them that keeping their emotions locked away was only delaying what destiny had already aligned. And as your special person listened, the shock began to evolve into something deeper, an acceptance they had spent months avoiding. You lived in the spaces they didn't talk about, in the thoughts they tried to silence, in the emotions they never dared to unpack. Last night didn't expose them, it reminded them of who their heart beats for. But here's where the universe played its boldest move. As your special person's mind raced, the stranger asked them one question, one that hit harder than anything said that night: if you truly didn't care, why does your whole body react when their name is spoken? That question sliced through their excuses like a blade made of truth. Their silence was the answer. And the stranger didn't stop there. They told your special person that sometimes, the universe places moments in front of us that we cannot scroll past, cannot ignore, cannot forget. Moments that demand courage. Moments that demand honesty. Moments that demand acknowledging what the soul already knows. And if you, the one watching this right now, feel even the slightest tug in your chest, if your breath shifts, if something inside you whispers that this message is touching a place you've tried to numb, then understand this. Your energy and theirs are still connected. The invisible thread hasn't broken, it's tightening. Share this feeling with the part of your heart that still wonders why destiny keeps circling the same connection. Let that part of you recognize that this isn't coincidence, it's alignment rising again. And then came the moment that sealed the truth your special person could no longer run from. The stranger leaned forward and said softly, "The reason you can't let them go is because deep down, you know they weren't meant to be temporary." Those words didn't just land, they shook something awake inside them. Your special person blinked, their eyes softening in a way they hadn't allowed in months. In that instant, the restaurant around them dissolved, the world narrowed into a single realization burning in their chest. They couldn't replace you. They couldn't forget you. They couldn't rewrite the story the universe kept pulling them back to. And if this moment, this story, this revelation is reaching you with a strange, undeniable pull, then don't question it. Stay right here. Because what happens next is the part of the story your special person never thought they would admit, the moment they finally understood what destiny had been trying to tell them all along. My beloved heartbeat. What unfolded next was the moment your special person had been avoiding for far too long, the moment where their walls finally cracked under the weight of their own truth. As the stranger's words echoed in their mind, your special person felt something inside them shift, like a door they'd kept locked suddenly creaking open on its own. Their breath grew shallow, their chest tightened, and for the first time in months, they didn't try to fight the feeling rising inside, they let it rise. The truth they'd been suppressing came rushing forward all at once, every time they tried to move on, every time they tried to replace the memory of your presence, every time they filled their days with noise to avoid the quiet, it only pulled them deeper into the realization that their heart had never, not even for a moment, detached from yours. And as they stared at the half-empty glass in front of them, they felt an emotion they couldn't outrun anymore, longing. Not a soft, subtle longing, but the kind that hits like a tidal wave, drowning every excuse, every denial, every carefully built wall they had used to shield themselves from their own feelings. But the universe wasn't done with them yet. The stranger reached into their pocket and placed one more thing on the table, something your special person absolutely didn't expect. It wasn't a message, nor a picture, nor some dramatic confession. It was something far more disarming, a simple question written on a small, folded card. And that question shattered the last of their resistance. If you had one more chance with them, one more moment, one more honest conversation, what would you say? Your special person stared at that card as if it were a mirror reflecting every feeling they had locked away. Their throat tightened. Their mind raced. Their heart, already exposed, already trembling, began pounding with the memory of what it felt like to be near you. And in that instant, they realized that the pain they felt wasn't from losing you, it was from holding back everything they wished they had said. The stranger saw the shift in their expression and leaned in with one final truth that left them speechless: you're not confused. You're scared. And fear is the only thing standing between you and what was always meant for you. Those words hit them harder than anything else that night. Because the stranger didn't just call out their fear. They exposed the fact that your special person's heart had been waiting, aching, hoping, for something they never had the courage to speak out loud. And then, as the evening stretched into silence, your special person made a decision, not a loud one, not a dramatic one, but a quiet, powerful one that changed everything. They sat back, closed their eyes for a moment, and let the truth settle in their bones. They weren't done with you. Not emotionally, not spiritually, not in any corner of their heart. They realized that the connection between you wasn't a memory to move on from, it was a force they were still tied to, a pull they couldn't cut even when they tried. And as the stranger stood up to leave, they left your special person with one final message: when the heart chooses someone, it doesn't unchoose them. It just waits for courage. That sentence stayed lodged in their mind like a heartbeat they couldn't ignore. And when they walked out of that restaurant, the night air felt different, as if every step they took carried the weight of the truth they'd finally stopped hiding. Their shock had turned into clarity, their clarity into longing, and their longing into a decision they could no longer deny. And now, the universe is preparing the moment where that decision meets destiny. My beloved moonlit soul. As your special person stepped out of the restaurant, the cold night air hit them with a clarity they could no longer push aside. They paused at the doorway, their fingers still brushing the outline of that small folded card inside their pocket, the question that refused to leave their mind. For a moment, they stood completely still, staring at the dimly lit street as if the world had paused just for them. Their breath fogged in the air, their heartbeat thudded in their chest, and the weight of the night settled over their shoulders like a truth they'd carried for too long. Every step they took away from that dinner felt heavy, not because they were confused, but because they finally understood the magnitude of what they had been running from. They weren't just avoiding emotions, they were avoiding destiny. And the realization struck deeper than they expected. No matter how long they tried to silence the truth, their heart had remained faithfully tethered to yours. The connection wasn't fading, it was intensifying. As they walked down the quiet street, their mind replayed every moment of the night, the stranger's words, the envelope, the card, the shock, the confession they never meant to speak aloud. Each piece connected like parts of a puzzle that had been waiting months to assemble. And as everything aligned, an ache settled into their chest. Not the painful kind, but the kind that comes when truth finally reveals itself without filter. They realized that all the distractions, all the attempts to move forward, all the people they tried to meet, none of it filled the space you occupied inside them. Because your place wasn't temporary. It wasn't accidental. It wasn't replaceable. The more they tried to hide from this truth, the louder it became. And for the first time, they admitted to themselves that they had never let go of you. Not even for a second. They could lie to others. They could lie to the world. But they could no longer lie to their own heart. And as they reached the corner of the street, the night suddenly felt alive with a strange energy, a pull, a signal, a shift in the air that made them stop walking. Their phone vibrated in their pocket, and though they didn't even check it, something inside them whispered your name. Not as a memory, but as a direction. Their chest tightened with a realization they could no longer delay. The universe wasn't done with this story. Something was guiding them back, not out of nostalgia, but out of necessity. The connection wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual, magnetic, undeniable. And as your special person stood beneath the soft glow of the streetlight, they finally understood the truth the universe had been trying to show them all night, the truth they could no longer ignore or silence. A truth that echoed through their entire being, rising louder with every beat of their heart. They weren't meant to walk away from you. They were meant to return. My beloved eternal soul, what happened next was the moment your special person's heart finally surrendered to the truth it had been fighting for far too long. As they stood under that dim streetlight, the night felt unnaturally still, as if the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for their next move. Their fingers brushed against the folded card again, and suddenly every emotion they had buried surged to the surface in one overwhelming wave. They felt the weight of every unsent message, every unspoken feeling, every moment they wished they could go back and handle differently. And for the first time, instead of running from these emotions, they allowed themselves to feel them fully. Their breath trembled, not from fear, but you. The realization that their heart had been trying to speak the truth all along. You weren't a lesson, you were the destination. You weren't a phase, you were the alignment. And no matter how far they wandered, everything kept orbiting back to you. As they continued walking, something strange began to happen. The world around them, cars passing, distant voices, glowing windows, faded into a dull blur. It was as if their mind had entered a tunnel of pure clarity. Every memory of you returned not as nostalgia, but as a reminder of what their soul refused to release. They remembered the way your presence felt like home, the way your energy lingered even after conversations ended, the way your absence echoed louder than any silence they had ever known. And with every step, their heartbeat grew louder, sinking with a truth they could no longer deny. They whispered your name under their breath. Not intentionally, not consciously, but as an involuntary confession slipping straight from their heart. And that whisper changed everything. It shattered the last illusion that they were over you. It exposed the truth that they had been trying to hide not just from the world, but from themselves. They still cared. More deeply than they were ready to admit. Then came the moment the universe gave them a sign so unmistakable that it stopped them in their tracks. A soft breeze brushed past them. Gentle, warm, almost familiar, and something inside them clicked. It wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't imagination. It was alignment. The universe had been orchestrating this entire night to bring them face to face with the truth they had buried beneath fear. And as they looked up at the sky, something inside them whispered a message so clear it sent a shiver down their spine: you're not done. The story isn't over. Their eyes softened, their pulse steadied, and they felt a clarity that washed through them like light breaking through darkness. They finally understood that no matter how the world tried to distract them, no matter how many new paths they attempted to follow, the pull toward you remained unshaken, unbroken, unwavering. And at that exact moment, they made a silent, powerful promise to themselves, one that the universe had been waiting for. They wouldn't hide their feelings anymore. They wouldn't run from their truth. They wouldn't pretend you were a closed chapter. Because everything inside them knew. You were the one place their heart had always been trying to return to.